Room. The only way to start your day.
7 minutes after 8. Thank you for keeping it locked on Spice FM, on KTN, on X, on YouTube, on Facebook. We live stream this show every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Why wait when you can loop? This is a question that we're asking this morning. So think about it from a business point of view. Make your business dreams come true. And in this case, through. Welcome to the world of Loop. It's a lifestyle app that grows your business. NCBA says with Loop, you can get access to quick loans for your business. Wake up in the morning and you say, okay, there's something that we need to do. 1, 2, 3. Loop makes it happen for you. You can get quick access, easily make payments to other merchants, suppliers, and pay business utility bills through the Loop till. And you can do this once you download the Loop app on your mobile, on your Google Play Store or Apple App Store. You can do so many things. You can post promotional deals on the app. You can accept payments from other customers, whether on mobile money or bank with one easy till for everybody. You can enjoy the most affordable transaction rates in town across any channel. Download the Loop app today and enter a world of convenience where all your lifestyle needs are sorted. Why wait when you can just Loop it? That's for folks in business. We'll tell you later about what you can do on a personal level with Loop.
Mambo ni mengi.
Yes.
Sindio? Oh, very good. Very good. Now, for the next hour, we want to have a conversation, getting an update on what's been happening, in the world, the armed conflict between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip and the effect that it has had on the people on both sides, particularly those who live in the Gaza Strip. We are joined this time by the ambassador of the State of Palestine to Kenya, His Excellency Hazem Shabat. He's back here. Good morning.
Good morning to you too.
Good to have you back here.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Looking always forward for it.
How has it been the last many months since you were last here?
It's exactly what we anticipated and we have warned and we knew that was coming. Despite the fact that on the 7th of October, Hamas has attacked Israel, but we knew that this all was playing into the hands of the new government of Israel, who had already predetermined and announced plans of doing everything in its power to end the Palestinian presence in the Palestinian territory, on their own homeland, and to kill any prospects for the two-state solution and the establishment of the Palestinian state as such, to empower it, to realize it. What we have seen over the past month is imbalanced and retaliation to an action that has exceeded all the norms of war, international law, and the laws of war, coming with a huge toll of death, destruction, and despair to many people, of the Palestinians, of course, in this case, and also to the Israelis to some extent in this regard. So, with the prospects of escalation beyond the Palestinian land, into neighboring countries, more parties are being involved in this conflict. We've seen destabilization of the region. All of this because Israel insists that it does not want to listen to anyone, including its closest allies, that their actions are only causing more destruction and destabilization, and is not what the world is expecting to see as a way forward to what has happened.
Okay. That sets the stage for our conversation. So now is the time to welcome you with the day's proverb. And CT goes to an African country and brings us proverbs. He's decided that this week and last week and the previous week, he's looking at countries that border oceans in Africa, excluding islands. So this week, you are in which country, City?
The Federal Republic of Somalia.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The one with the largest coastline in Africa.
Oh, yes. It's huge. You're talking about the Gulf of Aden. It comes down, enters the Indian Ocean. It's long.
It is.
It's very, very long indeed. These youth taught their mother to give birth.
These youth taught their mother to give birth.
Yes.
That's the proverb. Balozi, what's your understanding of this proverb?
It can translate to many things. That first of all, the new generation is always the power or the fuel for recreation and re-improvising what the family looks like or the society looks like or anything like this, and encourages the homeland or the mother in this case to bring forward new blood, new ideas in this regard. So I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but at least this is what comes to mind.
It does make sense. You know, when City gave us this proverb earlier at 6 a.m., we looked at each other and wondered, okay, so what would this proverb be saying? And it's interesting that you are the second guest now to give us your perspective of the proverb, and it makes a lot of sense, City. Yeah?
It's one of the reasons why we ask our guests to give us their input, because what we found over time is there is such an interesting diversity of understanding of the proverbs. So you start off by what you think it means, and by the time you're through within 3 hours, you're amazed at just how many other perspectives you have on the same proverb, and they all make sense.
Yeah.
They do. They do. So, Balozi, it's coming up to a year since this conflict began. Do you have numbers? If you can just give us the numbers and figures, the number of people who may have died, who have been hospitalized, who have had to leave their homes and move into other areas, into other countries, the kind of impact it has had.
If we speak about the Gaza Strip, we're now, since yesterday, and maybe with the 21 of this morning, so we are now at about around 42,000 killed and almost 95,000 injured. And by injured, I don't mean that a couple of stitches here or there. I'm speaking about maiming and severe injuries and crippling injuries to the body. In the entire infrastructure in the Gaza Strip is entirely wiped out. Roads, sanitation, water lines, power lines, schools, hospitals, public institutions, universities, and basically the Gaza Strip, the area that hosted 2.3 million people, with multiple universities, national universities, accredited national universities, and 6-7 major hospitals, and hundreds of schools around the city and the Gaza Strip. All of this is decimated. This is now rubble. The latest estimate, and to make it more relevant here to Kenya, is UNIP's estimate of the amount of rubble that exists now in the Gaza Strip. The United Nations Environment Program, now based here in Nairobi, is estimating that over 40 million tons of construction rubble exists in the Gaza Strip. Whoa. So this gives our audience, and to you, of course, the scope of the destruction that was happening. That this was not targeting combatants or between, parentheses, militants here or there or no, it was decimation of the entire existence of the Palestinians. And that's what the international community saw, that the target of Israel is to end Palestinian presence on the Gaza Strip and not to fight Hamas as such. Okay. And that's why we saw the U-turn in political positions. But now we are not only speaking about the Gaza Strip. Israel is replicating the same model in the West Bank. They stormed Jenin, and they uprooted or bulldozed the entire road system in the area, together with the water lines, power lines, sewage, and under the pretext that we are fighting some militants in that 10, 15 militants in whatever. So,
how is the government of the state of Palestine, where is it headquartered?
In Ramallah.
The
president sits in Ramallah.
Right. How has it been responding in terms of engaging the international community, engaging with the Israeli authorities?
We have received all our international partners and since the 7th of October repeatedly Secretary Blinken, all the European ministers of foreign affairs and prime ministers, and a considerable number of them, EU high representatives. We have taken part in all the Arab and Organization for Islamic Cooperation meetings, and the dialogue is always there. It has never stopped. And we were saying exactly what I said here in the beginning of the conflict and what we were saying before the beginning of the conflict. 1 year before that, my president stood in the United Nations and said, my people need the protection of the world because what's coming, we know what's going to come. And what the Israeli intentions for us is nothing but decimation and annihilation of the entire population and to end any prospect of peace. So we knew it in advance, we declared it in advance, and all our partners know our position in that. We have been against terrorism, we fought terrorism, we fought violence, and we tried over almost 30 years of a peace process to promote the principle of peace and dialogue. And we were involved on many levels, on business-to-business relations, institutions-to-institution relations. We have been fostering that and supporting it. But this never bear fruit because of the actions on the ground. You cannot be promoting peaceful interaction with your occupier while your occupier on daily basis is committing crimes, war crimes, and humiliation that is beyond anybody's tolerance.
But also, I hear you to say then that in this case, you talk about the occupier, in this case being Israel, of the Gaza Strip, and like you said, now moving towards the West Bank. That previously, when we look at the 30-year peace process, and even when there were bouts of conflict throughout that process, that usually by now we would have heard or seen the possibility of either, number one, ceasefire, or at least somebody was offering the white flag and saying, let us have a conversation and to see what's going on. We would have seen this by now having happened. But what you're saying is that there is no intent to live amicably, that the intent is to wipe out all Palestinian presence from the Gaza Strip. So inadvertently, you're saying that the possibility of peace talks or ceasefires then is impossible. Is that what you're saying?
That's not what only me saying this. At this stage, we are only speculating and analyzing the from the statements and the positions and what's happening on the ground. But if the actions of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory, which by law, international law, and this is something that all countries of the world attest to, and this is what is being established, is Jerusalem, the entire West Bank, and the Gaza Strip. Mm-hmm. If the actions are very coherent, it means that this is a determined policy of the current government of Israel. Mm-hmm. And this is not only my speculation, it's also the speculation of the Israeli opposition leaders who has spoken out very clearly that their prime minister has no intention of ending the war. And this is a campaign that he's willing to take all the way to the end to serve his coalition members and their aspirations in this regard. And when we speak about the coalition, of the current coalition in Israel, it's the most right-wing and fanatic coalition that existed in Israel or government in Israel. We have a minister of security who basically determines the quality of the life of the occupied people of Palestine under his military rule and police rule. He's calling Palestinians as animals, and he's dealing with them as animals. In public statements, this is not my words, and this is something that was published in Israeli newspapers, and they're not shying away from it. Imagine how he deals with them on the ground. All Palestinian villages now have gates. in the occupied Palestinian land, on our land that is recognized by 143 countries as a state. Our villages have gates. So basically our occupier opens the gate in the morning if he decides to do so, and you leave. You're allowed to leave, to go to work, to go to whatever, with no guarantees that you'll be let out. If you come back and the door is closed, then you have to find yourself another place to stay. You cannot go back to your home. Where else is that allowed to take place? We speak about 7th of October. But before the 7th of October, and not in Gaza, in the West Bank, more than 230 people were killed by the Israeli army and settlers who are allowed until today to practice pogrom on the Palestinian towns and villages, burning houses, burning property, cars, and killing whoever, because they are armed. And should, God forbid, the people would revolt against these attackers at night, in the middle of the night, the Israeli army provides the security for the settlers, the colonial settlers, not for the population. Yeah.
Balozi, there has been initiation and retaliation by Hamas. There has been a fight back. There has been initiation of conflict on the other side as well. So even as we speak in this manner, it would appear as though that the side known as Palestine is sitting back and taking attack. But we know that there's retaliation. And we also know that in some cases there is initiation of an attack. How would you explain this?
I see your point in the question. But it depends where are we pointing our finger on the timeline. Hamas did an attack on 7th of October. This is not speculation, this is a fact. We've seen it all on TV. An attack that took around 48 hours or whatever, and it has ended and that's it. Okay? But an attack against who? I'm sorry, they did not attack Switzerland, for example. Israel, by international law, is an occupying force. The Gaza Strip is an occupied territory. Okay? So, the cause and effect, had there not been occupation, had Israel not been insisting over this 30 years of the peace process to destroy all prospects of peace and reoccupy and annex more land and kill more people on the ground, Hamas and other like-minded groups or whatever would not have existed, would not have been empowered in the Palestinian side. It's injustice, it's the crimes that are being perpetrated that allows groups like Hamas to exist and flourish and to be powerful and influential. The issue is, since 7th of October, what did we see? Identical actions to what we are the world is condemning Hamas to have done. Identical, copy, paste of killing, maiming, and whatever, at a ratio of 40-1. Isn't that something that we should make us wake up and see that this is not a recipe for a better future? And this exactly explains how Israel has been conducting itself before 7th of October and during 7th of October and after 7th of October and until now, and now it has moved to the West Bank, replicating the same amount of killing and destruction and choking and suffocating the Palestinian life in their economy, in their movement and everything. This is a systematic action. I'm sorry, if the opposition leadership is accusing Netanyahu of being the cause of what happened on 7th of October, and that he had known in advance, month in advance, about the possibility of something like 7th of October, and that how he dealt with it and how he has empowered Hamas by transfer of money and by weakening the Palestinian Authority over many years of his being in office as a prime minister. This is why we have the calamity at hand. This is not me speaking. That is not the Palestinians speaking. This is the Israeli politicians speaking to their own government. That the situation we are in is our own made because of our leaders.
You know, every time we have this discussion, the thing that I find overwhelming is just the hopelessness of it all. It's like it's a never-ending cycle of violence. let's go back into history and look at 1948. Are we saying that from 1948, those wars then, 1967, that there's never been a time when one could look at that region and say the possibility of two states coexisting side by side was actually possible? Was there ever such a time?
Thank you very much for bringing the 1948. And I will answer your question, but I will first state the following. Israeli leaders, people in government, are saying, let's finish the job that we started in 1948. On TV, in Israeli newspapers, this is what they are calling for. To ethnically cleanse the Palestinians totally from their homeland. And this is going unchecked. Now, no, there has been many attempts. And the fact that the Oslo Agreement came into being was as a result for interaction between us, the European leadership, the Americans, and we agreed that the best way forward is a two-state solution. We will agree to settle for 22% of our homeland as long as peace is achieved, and we can live as neighbors and interact and trade and whatever, just like any other country. But over 30 years of negotiating, we lost more territory, more of our kids are being killed, our economy is more dominated. So basically, we are in a process that is not yielding anything. And over 30 years, we're speaking a generation plus for people who have been born into the peace process. So but somebody who was born in 1993 in the peace process, he's now, imagine the amount of frustration and anger that seeing himself almost literally as apartheid in his own country. It's apartheid. This is not my words. This is all the legal Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International. They have said that what's happening in Palestine is classical definition of apartheid. Listen to what the German foreign minister a few days ago said. She's criticizing the inflammatory statements from Israel right-wing ministers, their calls to topple the Palestinian Authority and plans to build new settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories. She's condemning that. Germany, one of the strongest allies of Israel. So even the allies of Israel are not happy with what this government is doing. We had other governments that existed in Israel. Yes, we did not reach the final agreement, but never has the level of confrontation between us and them reached that point. And I'm speaking about us, the Palestinians in general, the Palestinian leadership, the PLO, the official government recognized by the international body.
Let's take a break. It's 8:30. Our guest this morning is His Excellency Hazem Shabat. He is the ambassador of the State of Palestine in Kenya. We are looking at what's been happening over the last 11 months. On the 7th of October last year, Hamas invaded Israel and caused a lot of destruction, death, and kidnapping of hostages. Since then, Israel retaliated, and we have heard from the ambassador, 42,000 people killed in the West Bank, 95,000 people injured, not in the West Bank, but in the Gaza Strip, 95,000 injured. Destruction of the entire infrastructure, homes, buildings, water, sanitation, power, and everything destroyed. And it still goes on. What will it take to have a ceasefire? What will it take to bring peace to this region? Keep it here. We'll be back shortly.
When I